but her service was extended by 6 months to lead MOSTI in the rollout of the program Imunisasi COVID-19 Kebangsaan. In 2019, she was appointed Secretary General, the Ministry of Energy, Science, Technology, Environment and Climate Change, MESTEC, to lead policy development and strategic management in the areas of science, technology, and innovation, as well as environment and climate change. She served as the Director General of the Ministry of Higher Education, MOHE, from 2017 to 2019, responsible for the implementation of the Malaysia Education Blueprint 2015 to 2025 with the Integrated Cumulative Grade Point Average CGPA. She worked briefly as a civil engineer in the Public Works Department, Malaysia, and Bethel and Duncan Associate, Burlington, Massachusetts, USA. She began her career in 1987 as a lecturer at Universiti, Teknologi, Malaysia, and subsequently as Dean and Pusat Pengajian Diploma, subsequently Deputy Vice-Chancellor in charge in Academic Affairs and Internationalization at UTM. She graduated from the Advanced Management Program at Harvard University, Boston, USA in 2014, appointed as Group Chief Executive Officer of UCSI Group and Vice Chancellor of UCSI University in October 2021, following her retirement from public service. Primarily oversees the strategic agenda of the education, technology, hotels, and travel segments, as well as overseeing the performance and fiduciary duties of the USI Group and its group of companies. In May 2022, she was appointed as the chairman of the Task Force on Improving Healthcare Work Culture, established by the Malaysian Ministry of Health to address aspects of work culture and human resource management of the healthcare workforce. The task force was disbanded in August 2022. In the same year, she was appointed as one of the members of the nomination committee for the Merdeka Award in the Education and Community category. Ladies and gentlemen, on that note, let's give it up to Professor Emerita Datuk, Dr. Siti Hamisah Tapsir.
Thank you, Associate Professor Dr. Norahim. Assalamualaikum, salam sejahtera, salam Malaysia Madani. Thank you, the pengacara majlis. Professor Shirley Condon, WTUN Chair of the General Board, Vice-Chancellor, University Bradford. Dr. Sharon, I'm sorry if I pronounce this wrong, Hanrachen, Chair, Operational Board, Strategic Projects Manager, Atlantic Technological University, Associate Professor Dr. Muhammad Arifin Abu Hassan, UTM Global Connect 2024, Program Director, UTM International Director. Ladies and gentlemen, I was to understand that there are more than 19 universities representatives from overseas. Welcome to Prasada, Johor Bahru. I hope you had a great evening last night. Secondly, please allow me to thank the organizing committee for inviting me. Dr. Arifin, really appreciate your invitation. I'm given a task to talk on university leadership and alliances for planetary health. I will try to share my experience and also what we are doing in UCSI University. This is by exploring innovative strategies for sustainable global change. I will talk on the understanding of planetary health, the role of universities, exploring innovative strategies, and planetary health challenges. Let me share about UCSI first. We were established in 1996, which is about 36 years ago. And we have 4 campuses, 12,000 students. Our latest campus is in Bangladesh. Programs offered in UCSI ranging from music to engineering. We have the Dean of Engineering, Dr. Ang, here with us. and also social sciences. We have 2 hotels and 1 hospital, more than 20 companies in UCSI. Right, let me share with you on the understanding of planetary health. Well, there's a lot of definition. People define it differently each time. But simply, it is the interconnectedness of environmental, climate change, biodiversity loss to human population health. But not only human population health, but also the animals and the whole ecosystem. Well, we have SDG, we have ESG, we have planetary health. For those who are running companies, the government of Malaysia, for example, required them to publish sustainability report every year. And it is still new in Malaysia, and we came up with ESG, and now it's planetary health. So I had one board meeting recently, and they were saying, we'll end up doing more work for sustainability than the business itself. So whether the company will be sustainable or not. So the understanding is different from different part of the world as well, and from different stakeholders. Sustainable practices, yes, we are doing it every year, here and there, is like not covering all. And we know that in SDG, sustainable goal, 17 SDG sustainable goal, the progress is quite disappointing. Only 17% of all those 17 SDG goals have been achieved. And almost 1/3 has been lost in the radar. So these are the landscape of SDG. Right, in Malaysia, Bursa Malaysia, this is like FTSE 500 in UK. There's a requirement for all companies to start reporting sustainability initiative in the company, and that was imposed in 2022. But in 2025, December, there's IFRS, which is International Reporting Standard, International Finance Reporting Standard S2, that will be imposed in all companies with more than 2 billion worth of revenue. For smaller companies, they are not imposed. And in Malaysia, more than 80% of the companies are SME. So there goes our sustainability initiative. But the government, under the Ministry of Science, through Academy of Sciences, they are now in the midst of coming up with the roadmap for planetary health. And we know that SDG is imposed. Planetary health is based on non-profit initiative, and ESG is embedded in SDG. So the definition, the understanding varies, but we know that in SDG 3, SDG 6, SDG 13, SDG 14, and SDG 15 is all included in planetary health. So there are some arguments. There's nuances. Are we not repeating ourselves? But if we talk to the Ministry of Health, they said, no, it's separately, totally different thing. So that is the landscape of planetary health. Why it's important? I think it goes without saying, with the temperature going up. I know certain countries don't believe in it, but the issue of microplastic in our blood system. I read a report, they were saying, oh, it's not that serious, but there's another report, it is serious, and sometimes you have to figure out who to trust and who to believe. If you're a scientist, of course, you will strongly believe it, but if you're a politician, that is a different ballgame, totally. So, and we know with the microplastic, with the pollution, with plastic in the ocean, it causes various diseases and is impacting the world as a whole. And some say that even babies now starting to have that trace. Probably it's right. I remember when I had my baby girl, we used to warm the plastic bottle in a microwave, right? I just wonder whether the impact is lifetime or not. It's something that we are still trying to figure out. Right, current trends in planetary health, the 9 planetary boundaries. This is a framework to describe the limits to the impacts of human activities in the Earth system. And we have used up 6 out of 9. So it's like the health of human. So we have passed the at least midlife. How long this is going to continue, depending whether our net zero carbon emission by 2050 will be met or not. This is something that we as the human on planet will have to figure out and work together. And with the sustainability report, there are scope 1, scope 2, scope 3. Scope 1 is for the manufacturer, for the raw materials. Scope 2, right? This is on the use application. And scope 3, for example, a car. Scope 3 is the lifetime of a car, whether the carbon emission is in scope 1 or in scope 3. But if we look at it, at the life cycle of a car, actually is the users that is using or that is producing more carbon at the end of the day. That's why there's a move to go to EV. But EV, we have challenges in the battery, and the electric that we produce sometimes is not green, right? Or they call it blue in hydrogen. So we haven't really found the solution, if you ask me. That is my personal opinion. Right? Role of universities as leaders, we are trying to figure out how can we make our campus green, how can we make our campus sustainable. To be honest, it's not an easy task. Even trying to get no single use of plastic in the campus. It's very hard because the stakeholders in the campus is not only the students and the lecturers, but also there are businesses that are from outside. And if we impose, they may not come in, but you need them. This is something that we have tried in UCSI. Local and global partnership, even if we want to have a global partnership, we are measured by the carbon footprint. If we travel to the other country, and this is one of the sustainability report requirement in international financial report for S2, how much have you reduced on your staff traveling internationally? But being human, I always appreciate face-to-face collaboration than just online, because you feel like it's not achieving the target. Yeah. Future leaders training, your succession plan is important. One of the risks sometimes in companies is succession plan, whether you have people that will replace you in couple of years. I'm working in a university where most of the staff are young, and our task is to make sure that when we leave, they'll be there to take up the leadership challenge. Community engagement, I think this is what universities do best, working with the communities around it. This one on the strategies, from my perspective, collaboration, strategic alliance with the 4 quadruple helix. This quadruple helix has been used by the Ministry of Higher Education in the blueprint, higher education blueprint, partnership with the government institution, partnership with private sector, with NGOs and community around the university. I was talking to Prof. Arifin today. There's one university up north of UTM in Batu Pahat. The surrounding areas compared to when it first established has changed. There's a lot of development, there's a lot of activities going on. UTM has a campus in KL. When we moved to Johor Bahru, we thought we would move the whole lock, stock and barrel to Johor Bahru, but the community around it said that they will lose income. And until now, we have UTM in, used to be called Jalan Semarak. Yeah. And in UCSI, we are implementing the sustainability development goal as stated in the 17 SDG. We involve the student, global collaboration. We have the feedback mechanism from the people around the campus. Sustainable practices. Now, when we have meetings, there's no plastic bottles on the table. It's all jugs. And the hotel that we have, initially, there's a resistance because there's more work for them. But now the hotel and the campus are using jug rather than plastic bottles. Well, educational workshops, we have one center that does this all the time and offers up to pay a master's program. We have this policy, every graduate that we produce will plant 3 trees for them. So hopefully this will help with the carbon footprint, with the carbon credits and all that. This is an initiative that we do, but it needs a lot of collaboration. We need to find spaces for us to plant the trees, right? We produce about 3,000 students every year, and that will be 9,000 plants. So I asked them, how do they do it? They do it, they say they work with communities. And in terms of our involvement, we are the regional centers of expertise, RCE, for the Kuching campus and also the Kuala Lumpur campus. We have a campus in Kuching. Kuching is in Borneo, and they are also the center for sustainable education and global alliance. So we try to work with other universities as well on this, and that has worked quite well. Other efforts, digitization, solar panels, we have rainwater harvesting under the building. There's a huge pond that we have that collect water and is used for gardening and whatnot. Electric buggy units, but again, like EV is questionable when we look at electric is being produced by others. But in our case, is the electric that we get from TNB. Right. In terms of working with the community around it, we came up with one program. It's called Harmony Mesra. This is our brand. Harmony Mesra is a BM word because we live in a society that is multinational, racial. We have different belief system. So once or twice a year, we call the people in the community together and we brief them what we are doing, and they will give their feedback. And sometimes they need help from us, and we work with them on that. And this is important because people have different values, the respect for others, and the respect for what they believe in. And in Malaysia, it's common if you eat with a Muslim, you don't order pork. If you eat with Indian, you don't order beef. So that is common. So this is the values that we are trying to emphasize and embed in the campus. Then we have the community-led engagement. As I mentioned, this is the easiest way because we have 12 faculties and each faculty can do this several times a year. But this is more of the engagement with the community. I think every university is student-led environmental initiative like the cleanup of beaches and mangrove. We adopted one stretch of river in Kuala Langat, and we helped to clean up the river, and we have fresh fish, freshwater fish in there now. Social enterprise, we are involved in that. UCSI works closely with refugees. We have, because of them being refugees, and Malaysia doesn't have a signatory with United Nations that allows refugees to work in the country, to study in the country. So some of the kids, they are left alone to their own device. So what we do, we help them with their education. We have volunteers that teach them. We also help those mothers and fathers catering food for those around the area. We even have some of these students on mobility program that are looking for this kind of experience. So this is one of our signature program in UCSI. It's not easy because these kids come from different backgrounds and different countries. Like it or not, we have to include them. Otherwise, one day, they become a nuisance to the community and society. But the challenge is the regulatory part. How do we convince the government? I was in the government. We were trying to convince the government to allow refugees to study, to allow refugees to be able to work. But it's not allowed. I can say this because I'm not in the government anymore, right? In fact, during the pandemic, the Ministry of Science, I was there then, leading with the Minister on the vaccination, working with the Ministry of Health. We wanted to vaccinate the refugees. But the public said, well, why do you need to spend the public money on the refugees? But we have to tell them, they are with us. We cannot leave anybody behind. So that is the reality of life. So in the end, we have to make sure that the refugees come, and they don't come in a group, because if they come in a group, then the immigration will come. So that is the conundrum. Right? Challenges in quadruple helix. We have different values, we have different objectives and strategies. If we are from the private sector working with the government objective is very strategic, is for the nation building, for the wealth and health of the population, but the private sector will be looking at different things. They look at the P&L, profit and loss statement. And that is the sustainability of a business. Coming from public and now joining private is totally different ball game. But at the same time, the private sector has to contribute to the ESG and sustainability. I'm glad that the government has put this in place, and all the companies will have. It's not only CSR. They have to report the metrics, the outcome, how much carbon dioxide emission, and how much are they. It's not just using carbon credit to counter back, but the proper ESG and net zero carbon by 2050 initiative. Then the policy and regulatory. The private sector has bersaham, but the government has this strategic initiative. So these are the challenges for quadruple helix. That is number one, the strategy. Number two, embedding planetary health in curriculum. This is where some of us felt like whenever there's something new in the trend, impose it on the university, embed it. So we end up having of course, sustainability, and then planetary health, then ESG, then the central bank said, oh, we have to add another one, financial literacy. And then there's another one, digital literacy. We end up adding more and more, and the core subject is getting less and less. So that is the challenge for us at the university. But in UCSI, we launched International Institute of Science Diplomacy and Sustainability, led by our science advisor, the previous science advisor, that is Tan Sri Zakri. And we offer programs such as Master in Environment, Social and Governance Leadership, Masters in Science Diplomacy, Master of Science Policy and Communication. Any universities that are interested to work with us, we can start doing dual degree. So that is one way of collaborating, I would say. So instead of embedding, we also embed ESG, but in related programs, because we have other Harmony Mesra that we are trying to embed as well. So our deans, like Dr. Crystal, she helped me with the PowerPoint. This is where the communication with the deans to get it embedded. Thirdly, leveraging on technology and big data. We have quite a number of startups in the country, and the government providing some sort of initiative as well. But for Malaysia, we are, I think, number 7 or 11 in terms of semiconductor, and we are trying to get more talents. But it's not easy because our talents have been pinched by other countries. 50% of foreign workers in Singapore are Malaysians. And when we had our graduation recently, when I shook hands with some of them, asked them, are you working? Yes. Where? In Singapore. Mostly working in Singapore. Of course, some of them go to Europe, some of them go to Middle East, and we end up having a shortage of talent in the country. And because of that, the government of Malaysia has decided to allow our foreign students to stay an extra of 1 year in the country so that they can work and then can convert it into expat visa, and they can work. But I think it's limited number of countries. So again, leveraging technology and big data. On the right-hand side here is the dashboard during the vaccination at the Ministry of Science. We were lucky, we had quite a number of universities that came in. This is the collaboration between university and also the public sector to come up with this. Right. Number 4, innovative funding mechanism for planetary health research. We had initiated matching research grant at the ministry before, but now at UCSI we are also coming up with matching research grant. So the other side will spend about an equal amount depending on the country's investment. Then we will pay on our own. Then crowdfunding and global funding platform, it sounds good, it sounds nice, but in reality it's very, very hard to implement this. We know in Malaysian banks nowadays, if companies are taking loan, one of the criteria is on the ESG, whether they have sustainability practices or not, whether they have that report. So is sustainability, ESG has been embedded in the criteria, but not planetary health yet. Right. This is at UCSI. We are collaborating with companies. This is the minister when he launched the program. Right. Developing metrics for sustainability impact. Like I mentioned earlier on, we have the scope 1, scope 2, scope 3. Who's responsible? If you produce a car, who's responsible for the carbon emission? We have scope 1, the manufacturer. We have the user and logistic, and who will take how many percent? And when it is the user, the owner of the car, how do you want to report that and capture that? Because there's no regulatory on imposing on each and every one. So it will go back to the companies that produce that. So it'll becoming much more heavier for manufacturers and costly for us in the end to pay for the price of a car. Then sustainable health indicators. I'm not sure whether this has been worked out on, but universities will be a good place to develop these indicators. Sustainable research evaluation. Right? So the challenges in implementing planetary health collaboration, again, is the understanding of planetary health. Whether it's from the perspective, even it's geography, I think, perspective of those who says planetary health is just health of human population. And there's another group that say the health of the planet itself. So there's contention on that. Yeah? The interdisciplinary approaches, somebody from social sciences and someone from engineering, probably the approach will be different, but we need to collaborate. At the end of the day, whether we can reduce the carbon emission as stated in scope 1, scope 2, scope 3. And currently, Bursa Saham, like the FTSE 500, is trying to collect data on the implementation of international financial reporting S2, which is related to climate change. Now it's not fiduciary reporting that has to be done by companies, but also the climate change, right? And how to measure that? Being an engineer, we are very strategic in getting those numbers, but it's not as simple as that. It's interconnected, uh, and sometimes it can be overlapping as well. Right? Understanding the planetary health, current challenges like climate change and all pollution, all that, that is continuously and it's not reducing. So in conclusion, strategies for effective university leadership implementation. I had this session last week when you want to award someone for being renowned in certain areas. Do you look at their personal or profile, or do you look also at the company? Some people are saying, "Oh well, he's not doing it because it's his staff that is doing it," but it's the leadership actually. Some leadership can make or it can break, right? And we have seen it in many countries, in many departments. So, succession plan, leadership training is important. I believe in it. Some people believe that leadership is like is something that you cannot train, but I think it can be trained, depending on how the training is being done. Foster interdisciplinary collaboration. This is something that I think is given. Establish partnership with environmental organizations. Sometimes we have to look at the organization itself, right? Reputable, and sometimes it's for personal interest. But we have seen that. Yeah, encourage student-led initiative. I think this is easier to implement. Secure funding for sustainability projects. This is something that even though the companies say, "Oh yeah, we support sustainability initiative," but to get the funding from them because they being profit oriented can be challenging. But again, at the end of the day, is the negotiation, the communication, whether we can convince them enough. Key takeaways: strategic leadership, fostering innovation, sustainable future, and building alliances. On the fostering innovation, as a country, we aim to have at least 3% of our GDP spent on research, but for the past few years, it's been probably dipping, slippery slope, making politicians understand the importance of research, fundamental research. I was there at the ministry trying to educate them, trying to get them to believe in investing in research. Sometimes is not easy. And especially when the political landscape is like not really in favor of growth, that can be challenging. But now Malaysian economy has been improving. Our USD value has been improving. So I hope the government will invest in research. I think it is a challenge across the board. All countries have these challenges when it comes to research. They feel like we are a different, we have different objective. Again, at the end of the day, is whether we train for the future generation, whether we have enough funding for research, and to make sure that we achieve what we want to get, or the strategy of the country. I think collaboration is the answer. Matching research grant will help a lot because most of the research by universities are almost similar, I would say. And rather than spending money on our own work, if we work together, then we can solve some of the problems together rather than repeating or overlapping the research project. That is something that I noticed when I travel to Indonesia and Western countries. Sustainable future, of course, and building alliances. Right? Let's collaborate for a sustainable future. I look forward to get your feedback, and we can be contacted at UCSI University. Thank you for your kind attention.
Thank you, Prof. A sincere thanks for your exceptional presentation at the event. Your insight and expertise with a significant impact, and we are grateful of your contribution. Thank you again for sharing your knowledge and making our events a success. Back to you, Pastor.
Thank you very much, Associate Professor Dr. Norahim Ibrahim, for the wonderful sessions. Ladies and gentlemen, let us give a warm round of applause to our esteemed speaker, Professor Emerita, Datuk Technologist in Senior, Dr. Siti Hamisah Tapsir, for that enlightening lecture. Your insight on pioneering science and innovation for planetary health have truly inspired us. Now, without further ado, to express our gratitude to our valuable contribution today. Oh, we do have a question.
Very much.
Thank you so much for the lecture, Professor. A lot of the things you've said are we're very aware of and constantly talking about, which is, collaborations. How can we share? How can we avoid repeating things? Particularly the research point you made, where the collaborations in research, we could get economies of scale and save on resource ourselves. So I just wondered whether you've got any views on how that might happen globally, how we might be able to convene ourselves differently to share the research load and get that multidisciplinary approach more embedded.
Thank you, Prof, for the question. I think there's a need for a platform. For example, when we talk about effect of climate change, all the countries are affected. Sometimes we are repeating it. One country will doing and Malaysia will be doing it. But instead of doing it separately, if we can have the matching research grant, the university, each university will come up with their own grant. I don't agree with matching dollar to dollar. It can be matched based on, say, I have 2 staff in UCSI, and then you have 2 staff, and then another university from less developed country, 2 staff. It is not dollar to dollar, but the manpower that we put in. If we require dollar to dollar, certain countries may not be able to participate, but we want to be inclusive. And yet we are talking about the same topic, climate change. What is the trend impacting in Malaysia, in UK, and probably in other less developed countries. So based on that, that can be consolidated as one research project. And each university will come up with their own, say if I'm hiring 2 staff, that costs me 75,000 a year. And that is the value, monetary value that we got from my university. But from your case, probably it'll be, in terms of Malaysian ringgit, could be 150. But at the end of the day, the man hours is the same, but the salary might not be different. And the third country may be even less than 50,000. So that platform, I think, is needed. The Ministry of Higher Education Malaysia did this with British Council at one point, but it's just G2G, one government, but it's not like global platform.
Yeah, and just a quick follow-up. I often look at the University of Bradford, and we actually fund, the university funds a lot of research time itself. And I know we could be better organised with that. We could direct it much more deliberately. And I'm assuming that's the same for all organisations. So as a network, we're trying to look at how we might be able to get more critical mass on some points that matter. And I'm wondering maybe if you have a view on whether we could harness outside the governance arrangements the actual funding we individually give to university funded research that's outside grants.
Yes, I think that would be one way. In Malaysia, there's a requirement for the private universities to allocate a certain percentage of their income for research. So for UCSI, we have more than 2 million ringgit annually that we have to put for them to have matching research grant. Previously, they did it individually on their own. They have one topic on, but now we are encouraging them to work with at least 2 other universities. When we total the amount of research is more than what they applied at UCSI, but the impact is most important. The matching research grant.
Any more questions, please?
I think that's it for the questions and answer. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Prof. Datuk and Professor, for the Q&A session just now. So let's move to our next sessions. Now, to express our gratitude for our valuable contributions today, we would like to invite Associate Professor Dr. Muhammad Arifin Abu Hassan, Director of UTM International, to the stage for the token giving ceremony. Please welcome. Now let us invite Associate Professor Dr. Norahim Ibrahim, our moderator of the day, to receive the token of appreciations. Thank you so much, Dr. Norahim. And let's invite Professor Emerita Datuk Technologies Insignia, Dr. Siti Hamisah Tapsir, to receive the token of appreciation from us. These tokens symbolize our deepest appreciation for dedications and commitment in advancing the field of science and innovations. Thank you very much, Associate Professor Dr. Muhammad Arifin, for that meaningful presentations of the token. We now invite everyone to return to the seat. Ladies and gentlemen, as we come to the close of this wonderful event, I want to extend our heartfelt gratitude to everyone for your participation today. The insights shared today have inspired us to take action towards our advancing planetary health. We would like to remind all of you to stay with us for the next session for Icon Talk, which will be starting shortly. It promises to be an engaging and informative sessions, and we would love you to be part of it. So that's all from me, and we'll see you back for the Icon Talk. Have a great one.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is just a side note for all the delegates for WTUC. So we are going to